Good morning, CCS, on this rainy Thursday morning. I hope you like rain as much as Carolyn Casey does, who I understand went out on her deck early this morning to just stand in the rain and welcome it. So thank you for joining today. And thank you for so many things I want to enumerate. First of all, I want to thank you for all you do every day for our students and all the communities we serve. I also want to thank you profoundly for following carefully the guidance and the mandate about COVID so that we can keep you safe and our colleagues safe and our students safe. And I know that it's been a lot of work and frustrating and kind of tiring, but you've done a really good job. And I think it's helped all of us, all employees and all students, that the mandates are being followed so carefully. So thank you for that. And then, as always, I just want to thank you for being so dedicated. I know that COVID has made this year and last year really tiring. I know everyone's exhausted, just ready to go back to kind of a more normal life. Let's hope that as other communities get a peak of Omicron and then kind of it flattens out and we can get back to more normal circumstances, that will happen here soon. So thank you for all that. And I know it's been hard, and your following the guidelines is really, really deeply appreciated. I also want to tell you that this town hall is in response to feedback we get through the strategic planning process and surveys about the need for us, especially at the district office, to communicate better. So this is really one of those meetings to say, let's hear from you. I am happy to answer your questions, have the cabinet members and presidents who can answer others if I don't have the answer at my fingertips, or if we don't know and you ask a question that we don't have an answer, we commit to following up and finding the answer and getting back to you. So with that, one of the things I'd like to offer, and there may be other questions, I know you've heard about my announcement to retire in 1 year in December of 22, and know that our Board of Trustees is deeply committed to shared governance, that they will be asking Greg Stevens and other members of the cabinet to help draft a timeline. It is the board's process. They make the decision. They know that there will be representatives from our Federation, WFSC, classified personnel. There will be representatives from the faculty through AHE. And of course, there will be other representatives. 2 of the board members will sit on the committee. And then, the process, I think many of you know, with the search, the committee job is posted, there are applicants, the committee assigned reviews the applicants, and then generally that committee advances a number of names to the hiring authority. In this case, the sole authority for hiring is the boards. We have a wonderful board of trustees, and they're very committed to ensuring the stability and direction of Community College of Spokane. You may have other questions, and please feel free to ask. Just know that the process is really owned and directed by the board itself, and that they will keep you informed. And I know they'll be tapping Greg Stevens to do the much of the work that is necessary in terms of timelines and so forth. And they will also be tapping Carolyn Casey and the communications team to make sure there are the appropriate updates to all the employees and to our students, and frankly to the broader community. So I did want to just state that. And then additional questions, don't hesitate to ask about that process. But as I said, at this point, that's where they are, and then they will directly keep you informed. So with that, let's hear your questions. I'm really eager to know what's on your mind, and ready to provide you the information, and know again that we will have other town halls throughout the year. I wish this one had been in person, but hopefully one of the town halls at least in the spring may get to be in person. Let's hear your questions.
So Dr. Johnson, we have a question here of what advice would you give to the next Chancellor of CCS?
The question is about what advice would I give to the next Chancellor of CCS. One is to really fully appreciate the people that make up CCS. There's a lot of experience, there's a lot of knowledge, there's deep passion for the work and a lot of expertise. So use it, all across CCS, not just the members of the cabinet, but as important as they are, but everyone here. Also seek information from students, what their needs are. Things have changed. It's a new economy, a new reality. And so that would be my advice, to listen to the good people and our students and community. And that would be job one.
We've got another one in the chat here. So what challenges do you foresee community colleges of Spokane needing to overcome if it's going to remain a relevant and vital institution in Eastern Washington?
So the question is about what are the key issues to keep community colleges of Spokane relevant in this new environment. There are many areas that we need to work on. And one of those is that the economy has changed and what students' needs has changed. We know that we read from all the experts and other colleges around the country is that for employees, more flexibility is one of those things that many employees are seeking, and recruiting and retaining talent is a huge issue, and we need to continue to make that a priority. For students, they're eager to get the right job, but they really want things faster. We are careful and concerned about the cost of higher education to students. And so keeping cost at a minimum and the quality of the programs in this environment, and also accelerating so they can move on with their lives and their careers.
Okay, Dr. Johnson, if you want to remind people that they can actually submit questions in the YouTube chat.
Yes, and I'd like to remind all of you that if you've got questions in the chat, please add them, and we have several people who are kind of tracking the chat so that your questions are answered. So please feel free to, whatever is on your mind, let us hear from you.
Got another one here. So what do you think is the most important problem facing CCS right now?
The most important problem facing CCS it really does have to do with COVID at this time. I think we've all seen it. The worry about either getting sick or not being able to leave children at home has really impacted the ability for students to attend on a regular basis. So we know that our attendance and enrollment is down, has been down the last 2 years. And that is a big challenge. We're not alone. This is happening all across the country at colleges everywhere. However, it's very important. One is because we need our students to be educated. We need them to be part of the workforce. We need them to go into all those industries that are looking for talent. And we hear from employers they're having a hard time recruiting and retaining talent. So that's a key issue. Our enrollment patterns also determine the stability of our funding. As you know, not only the tuition that students pay, but also the state allocation is based on enrollment. So if our student numbers decline, we lose funding from the state, and that 85% of our salary goes, 85% of our budget goes to salary. So if that pattern continues of students staying away from college, it really would be very detrimental to the future of our colleges, and more importantly to the students themselves. If they're not getting an education, if they're not able to advance to the career that they wish or the dreams that they have, that impacts our whole region, our whole state, in fact, our whole country. And this is, again, it's not an issue only at Community College of Spokane, all across the country, but it is certainly top of mind for us here.
So we had a question come in. Someone who's curious of what's happening with the state budget in the state legislative session, and will CCS be okay?
So the question is about what's happening with the state budget and will CCS be okay? It's very early to tell, of course. What we are hearing from the legislature, and by the way, I want to let you know that our Board of Trustees is very involved. The chair of our board is actually the chair of the Trustee Legislative Committee, Our trustee Thu is also very active in that arena. And then, of course, the presidents and I spend a good deal of time talking to our legislators. I'll start by saying that the governor's budget is very generous to community colleges. There's a set of priorities that the system as a whole had sought, and we presented that budget to the OFM, the Office of Fiscal Management, and the governor supports that budget, and basically everything that was on. I spent a good deal of time talking to our legislators. So what I want to say is that the governor's budget is very generous, and the everything that was asked for as a system of colleges, our State Board of Community and Technical Colleges, the governor's budget endorsed. We have gone to the House Appropriations Committee, and the chair of that committee is, as you know, our own Representative Ormsby from Spokane. And we had a very good hearing with them and basically endorsed the governor's budget. I might add that one of the things that we urge, and I was speaking on behalf of our president's group, the Washington Association of Community and Technical Colleges, and we asked that the governor's budget and the legislature really do something about employee salaries. So know that we really urge them to support the governor's budget and even do more. So we're hopeful. It's a short session, and the legislature so far said they don't want to have a lot of extra bills because it's a short time and short session. So we're hopeful that budget that was presented will be approved and adopted, and of course sent on to the Senate so it becomes, the new budget for the coming year. So keep your questions coming, please.
So we've got a two-parter here. So I'll ask the first part. So what was your favorite project in the 10 plus years that you have been Chancellor of CCS?
Oh, there are so many great projects associated with wonderful people. I would say, given COVID, one of my favorite projects that I think has had a big impact is the e-learning component of CCS was very small. We had a few faculty who did a great job and had a little bit of work going on. And that was one area that I knew was really important, mostly because I had come from a state that had a very robust community colleges online program, and really worked with wonderful faculty and the deans and everyone to get that launched and strengthened. And the big deal was in getting curriculum designers to help faculty move from the traditional teaching in the classroom, which most of us, including myself, did, and that's all I knew, to a new level. And none of us knew there would be a pandemic and that it would be used so much, but that quality of e-learning is really one that has had long-term impact. And frankly, we couldn't be doing what we're doing without that right now. And again, want to thank all the faculty who have adapted and doing great job online, but e-learning is really something that I think moved us and set us apart from other institutions.
And here's the second part. So what is a project you wish had happened?
Oh, that's harder. When the question is, okay, so one project that I really liked, and what other things or what other project do I wish had happened? I think I'll mention the honors work. I think that we have so many talented students and so many talented faculty. And some students just like to accelerate and be challenged more. And we started an honors program and worked with a partner that was a private partner. And then we have not, redone that. I think that we had to kind of take it in-house. And there's been a little bit of progress, and many colleges, have honors programs just to challenge the students who really want to go further. It's not just about more work, but it's more challenging and deeper work. And I hope that takes off sometime at the right time.
Dr. Johnson, what would you say to a prospective student considering college, but who is nervous about it?
That's a really good question. What do we say to students who want to go to college, but they're nervous? What I say to students, and by the way, I talk to students or even aspiring students out in the community as well, or neighbors or friends, and for the students who are uncertain, I say, first of all, you will find support to get to where you want to go, advice on programs or careers that would attract you. I also say to them, start with community colleges of Spokane. We are affordable, we're quality, there are small classes, you will get personalized attention. And I always tell them it's the best investment they can make in themselves. And I really believe it. I know it changes the student's life, and you know, and I know that we have proof of that every day. So I really persuade them that the right thing is go to college and start with community colleges.
We have a question here on YouTube from Emily Rowe. How have students and college needs changed during your time at CCS?
Really hugely. I think what we have seen, and the question again is how have the needs of students changed in in that decade? Well, again, I think the economy has changed a lot, so that changes everything for students. For students who have family, children, or family members they must care for, the driving to the campus and parking and the costs associated with that makes it more complicated. So a big change has been the students' needs for flexibility. Also, I think the students' awareness of cost, and they are very smart about getting the best investment, an education that prepares them for a job and a future. And so I think that's very top of mind for students. They love learning for the sake of learning, but they also want that learning to lead them to a job and a career in a future. And I think it's even more pronounced now than before. So I think there's an awareness that the education is the big differentiator for students who are going to be successful and not.
A question from Carla here in the YouTube chat. What are you looking forward to the most during your retirement?
So the question is about what am I looking forward most in my retirement is, probably number one, well, I shouldn't say probably, most of all is I'll have more time for my husband. He's been retired for a number of years, retired so when we moved here, and he would like more of my time, and I'm looking forward to that. We have been very fortunate that we've traveled the world. Not the last 2 years, we haven't done much, but there's still places in other continents we'd like to visit. And we love national parks in the U.S. We've seen many, but one of our hopes is that we'll get to all of them. And so that's one of the things. And then I'm a voracious reader. But I read a lot of academic journals, and I'm kind of looking forward to reading for pleasure and all kinds of novels. Thank you for your question.
We've got a question here. So with COVID and how uncertain the last 2 years have been, can you say what's happening with graduation this year? And do you think it's going to be in person?
So the question is about, with all the uncertainties of COVID, what's happening in graduation, and do we think it's going to be in person? I hope it's in person. I love graduation. I love everything about commencement, and I love the pomp and circumstance and seeing the students in their robes and hats and culinary and chef outfits and the works, but I don't know. I am hopeful. Let's hope that Omicron really has peaked or will peak soon, and then that things get kind of more normal. I especially like graduations because as our students have their families show up, and I love that there's 15 or 20 people in the arena to celebrate that student's accomplishment, or our adult basic skills graduations and ESL. And when you have the whole community in attendance of the students and tears, it's very moving. I really hope that we're able to do that. And at this time, no clear answer. Keep your questions coming, please.
So we've got one here. So can you talk about what community colleges of Spokane is seeing with enrollment? And is it different here than in other colleges in our state or system?
So the question is about, can we talk about what we're seeing with community college enrollments here? And is it different than it is at other parts of the state? And I am going to answer part of it, but then I'm going to call on the presidents to say a bit, and or their vice presidents. I know that Dr. Messina is actually at an Aspen Institute, must be there. And then I will also call in that order on Dr. Hunt, and as she takes a look at the district-wide reporting on enrollment. But I'll start with the presidents, and I'm going to ask Dr. Brockbank to go first. And Dr. Brockbank, feel free to call on anyone you want to call on from your team. And then we'll go to Spokane Falls and then to Dr. Hunt. Dr. Brockbank.
So Dr. Johnson, so Dr. Brock, he's not actually answering the call. Oh, so but we can have Dr. Hunt if she wants to.
Oh, okay.
Speak on it.
That's right. We'll do that. We'll have Dr. Hunt speak to that. And then let me, in the meantime, say that I know that our enrollment is down, and I want to applaud the efforts that our student services personnel and our marketing and outreach personnel are doing, and everyone really, to get the word out to students. We are down, and we're down. This is the second year we're down, and this is despite the heroic effort by everyone. So know that we know how hard you're working to enroll the students and get them financial aid and so forth. But we are down. There are other colleges in our system that are down even more. So, I'm glad we're doing better, but, we concentrate on, but we're down, and we are very much working and hoping that this coming fall that our enrollments will be up to kind of the normal levels, because again, that impacts funding. This year, as you know, we got a very generous support from our governor. And we also got very generous support from the federal government. There is no such additional support for institutions. So if we don't meet our enrollment targets, we will have to make some very serious changes and reductions all across CCS. So that I'll state that, and then I would ask Dr. Hunt to add, and feel free to share, and then if we didn't answer it fully for you, we'll provide you additional information in writing. Dr. Hunt.
Good morning, and thank you, Dr. Johnson. Good morning, everyone. I think a lot of the question has been answered by Dr. Johnson. We are seeing a decline in enrollments across the state, so we're pretty similar to our colleagues around our area. I think although our enrollments are down, we have a strategy to focus on students who are ready to start and welcome everyone. And so the introduction of our CRM Target X will assist us with communications to prospective students. And I think it's a good reminder that enrollment is something we all have the opportunity to impact. So I encourage you to spread the word among your friends, your family, people at the dentist office, or wherever you can tell people that CCS has a seat for them.
And I would just add that and I know that, by the way, I just have to commend your presidents, because they get information out to you on a weekly basis. They're excellent communicators, and we appreciate that you follow up with them. I would say that overall, I certainly know and want to commend the SCC probably had the most students on campus with their career tech ed programs than any college in the state. And so they did an exceptional job. So thank you, all of SCC. And then we know that Spokane Falls has been very successful and very effective in, not only the quality online learning, but also the student services that really were redesigned to really provide a lot of remote services. So really great job on that. I do see Dr. Brockbank is available, and maybe he can add to this. Or maybe it's not. Or maybe you could add something in the chat, Dr. Brockbank. I don't know if it's set up for you to be heard.
I'm now added in, Dr. Johnson. I wasn't previously, so I wasn't able to join. So it looks like you can hear me now. But I think Lori did a nice job of covering enrollments. And generally, what she said was, enrollments don't look good for us, but we're not necessarily out of alignment with what we see nationally and statewide. Our philosophy, you had just mentioned, our philosophy at SCC had been to do as much in-person delivery as we could. Part of that has to do with program mix. Part of that's a philosophy about providing students in-person assistance. And we hope that that generates enrollments, but there's a certain aspect to student behavior right now that it feels like is a little bit out of our control. You see it across society with people, in the workforce and not engaging in the systems that we previously see. So we have some real challenges as a college and a district to determine the path forward and what we can do and what we should be doing. It's a really unique time, and that's exciting too. Unique times should provide unique solutions. And so I think that's a quick overview of what enrollment-wise. So we're hoping for a great fall, but we are really unsure what that will look like. So I'll leave it there, and maybe President
for joining. And so if you could also add more about enrollment at Spokane Falls. Maybe she cannot hear.
Dr. Messina, the question was if you could add anything to
I'm hearing President Brockbank still.
Quick overview.
Okay.
So we're hoping for a great fall, but we are really unsure what that will look like.
So Dr. Johnson, did you want me to talk about the falls a little bit?
Yes, please. And I commended you rightfully so for all the really beautifully redesigned student services and outreach that you're doing virtually.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Maybe she cannot hear.
Oh, I'm hearing President Brockbank still.
Okay. I think we're ready now, Dr. Messina. So for all the really services and outreach going virtually.
I'm screwed up here.
Oh, mute the light.
Mute
Yeah.
the YouTube video or close it. There we go. You should be good
Okay.
now.
Go forward, Dr. Messina.
Now yes?
Yes.
Yep, you're good.
Okay, good. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Yeah, I would like to just add with Spokane Falls Community College having a different programmatic mix than SCC, we've definitely had a different approach to outreach and recruitment, as well as our instructional programs. And we've seen great success in terms of reaching actually more potential students through our virtual campus site. But we are also fully present in person as well, for services and programs. What we've noticed with our enrollment over the last 2 years is it mirrors the national average for community colleges. We are down about 22% from pre-COVID to now. And the greatest decline, which is consistent with national data as well, is in the transfer type programs. There's been much more of a willingness for students to remain engaged in the college experience in a more hands-on career technical, get right back into the workforce area. We are seeing a turnaround in that. Our most recent winter quarter data is looking really promising. We're seeing increases in a lot of our more traditional disciplines. We're really hopeful that, and our running start has increased actually quite a bit, which is counter to a lot of other community colleges in the state. So we are seeing that increase and feeling much more optimistic while acknowledging that we have a lot of work to do to continue to re-engage the community.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Messina. I'm really proud of the work you're doing and really proud of the work SCC is doing. Just fantastic colleges and great leadership. Other questions? Keep them coming, please.
So we have a question here, Dr. Johnson. So how is CCS going to assist teachers with the possibility of potentially needing to quickly switch to online learning in the future?
So the question is about how is CCS going to help faculty switch to online teaching if we need to do that quickly. Well, I have to say, first of all, that I think our faculty did just that and did a remarkable job. I give lots and lots of credit to our outstanding online learning team, and that they were ready to be there to support, whether it's instructional designers or the members of that team that are so talented, and then the faculty that just took it on and did a superb job. I think that needs to continue. But I think from their work, we will, I have no doubt, have recommendations about what would help more or what other needs they have. And I know that the colleges and the deans and the online learning and learning support services is right there ready to respond to those questions and needs they have. I don't have a list of those issues, but I'm sure there are lessons learned that of things we need to do better or different. And so we're ready for that.
A question here from Emily. What is the most challenging part of being a chancellor?
The question is about what is the more challenging part of being a chancellor. It's like any complicated role. The challenging part is always attracting the best people to the roles and then letting them do their work. And I really feel fortunate that CCS has that great team of really talented professionals in their assigned roles. And then from time to time, there can be something that isn't a good fit or things have changed and we need a different skill set. So, that's always hard to sometimes have to change the people in roles, but it's also part of what goes on in an organization. You always hope that people will do their best, and the majority do. And then a few times, either it's a problem of fit, or just needing additional skill set that individual may not have, and then having to make that change. So I know transitions are hard, and they're a necessary part of doing the work. But overall, I'd say, it's a complex role, but when you have the really excellent team, it just, and the mission makes it just fun and very worthwhile, whatever the challenge.
So we have a question here. So Dr. Johnson, with you being chancellor for past 10 years plus, how have student and college needs changed during your time at CCS?
So the question is about how have student needs changed over the last decade and plus? Oh, in so many ways. I think one of the things we see is the public and our students are really very smart about, they want value for what they, if they're going to spend time, whether it's an adult who's got a complicated job or family circumstances, or the 16-year-old who wants to move fast, they really want value for their experience and their tuition. So they're very mindful of the cost. And then the other change, I think, our students today are so technology savvy. They really expect, and they've got technology at home, or they've got games, or all the things. And I think that's one of the challenges for all of higher education, that we've got to kind of match the generational needs of how we do things, because they expect so much more because they're around it and familiar with it. And I also think of tracking their interest. Someone of my generation who, I never took an online class. I never knew how to teach online. And, and it's an expectation today that that's a part of it. And some students love the campus experience and need it, and others have complicated lives, and the convenience of taking things from home makes it a better. And we've got to serve all of those needs. I think the challenge is, how do we meet the needs of students who have a wide array of interest and needs and approaches to learning that they need? So lots of changes. And by the way, more to come. I think this is a time when there's such a change in every aspect of our life. Students have so many different tools that they keep track of, and we've got to be current and help them, stay current and ahead of the game.
Got another one from chat. So Dr. Johnson, you've been a very visible leader in the community. How will you stay connected retirement?
That is such a great question. Well, one of the comment is about how will I stay connected to the community. The good news is I sit on a lot of boards, and as I've notified colleagues within our region that I'll be stepping aside at the end of the calendar year, I had a number of people say, "Oh, let me talk to you about a board," and I said, "Well, no, I'm not adding boards just right now. My husband actually wants some of that time to do other things." But I have to say, Spokane is a wonderful community. It's a great region. I think many of you know I came from Colorado and had spent 35 years there. So this was a big move, and we have loved it. Love it enough that we're going to keep a home here, but I think we're going to also be seeking a little bit more sunshine and warmth, and trying to decide if we're going to be, in New Mexico or Arizona or Colorado, and we'll be making that decision, in the next few months. But we'll stay connected, and I will continue to support the many, many wonderful charities in our community. There are so many generous people and good causes, and I'm involved in a good number of them, and I plan to stay connected to the community and in a very supportive way, just on the side, of course, supportive of CCS always. It's a big part of my heart.
We've got a good follow-up on that. So somebody had asked, you mentioned someplace warm. They wanted to know if you could travel anywhere in the world that you haven't been, where would you go?
Oh my gosh, we have so many places we want to go that we didn't get to. One of the places we have not visited is Egypt. Haven't been there, and just an ancient civilization when it's safe, and we'd love to just go there. But there are other places. We've been all over Asia, but have never made it to Vietnam. That might be a really interesting place also. For those of you who don't know, we have spent many trips to different parts of Africa. It's a beautiful people, interesting continent, and probably go back there. And then there's Central and South America. So there are just so many places. So we hope to do some of those trips that we haven't taken.
We have a question from Brenda Norman here in the YouTube chat. So Dr. Johnson, what has been where have you looked for encouragement during the challenges that you have faced?
Oh, Brenda, what a wonderful question about where do I look for inspiration and strength when there are problems. And I have to say, it's my faith. Don't talk about it too openly, but it's a big part of who I am. So that's where I draw my strength. And then I have to say, I have a very loving and extended supportive family. I'm the one girl among 5 brothers in their family. So I have lots of brothers who provide a shoulder when needed. And of course, a wonderful husband that I'm fortunate to have been married to a long time, and lots of nieces and nephews. And oh my gosh, and I have great nieces and nephews also, and they're just a joy. So I just have an extended family, strong faith. And this is a beautiful community, so lots of friends.
Dr. Johnson, there's a question in chat. If you could talk just a little bit about the Head Start and Early Head Start services and how they fit into the mission of the community colleges of Spokane and how they serve it.
Oh my gosh, what a wonderful question about how does Head Start and Early Head Start fit in our mission. Talk about giving students a hand up. Those programs, early childhood education and Head Start, it's exactly that, giving children of poor families a head start, giving them a chance to be around caring teachers and staff who help them, whether it's learn their colors or numbers or, just those early steps. And the beautiful thing about that program, I think it's just one of the best programs that exist anywhere, is that the parents of the children also are our students and become very successful, and the parents learn how to advocate for their children. It's a beautiful thing to see. I'm so proud of our early childhood program and our Head Start program. And I think all of you know it's almost 2,000 little children are served by CCS through those programs. And we work with community leaders and have a number of centers throughout our region, throughout Spokane County. And then, of course, at our own campuses at Spokane Falls and at Spokane Community College, it is giving children the right start. And it's a beautiful thing. And if you've never stopped at a Head Start or early childhood program, do so. It's if you're having a bad day, that'll just make you light up.
Here, one from Aaron in the YouTube chat. So throughout your experience in both secondary and higher education, what's something a student has taught you that you carried with you during your time as Chancellor?
You know, the thing that I remember from all of my years, and, you know, I spent 15 years in the public school system, K-12 as a high school teacher, then a high school principal, and, you know, on to, you know, executive director and so forth of K-12. The thing that I have learned, and it's not just from one student, but from many students, is their resilience. Sometimes I would, you know, I remember from my high school, both teaching and days as a principal, sometimes the student that everyone thought was, you know, just a troublemaker or didn't get along or was rebellious or whatever, you see them a few years later. And when I became president of Community College of Denver, I would see some of those high school students years later in their 20s or maybe even 30s. And that person was this successful, vibrant, energetic person who had dreams and had overcome obstacles that I was humbled by their strength, that they had overcome obstacles that I'd say, like, I don't know if I could have done that, if, you know, something happened in their families or just circumstances, but it's their grit and determination. So I think what students have taught me, don't give up on them. Don't give up on them. Sometimes the students that you kind of think like, oh, you know, they're just not serious, they surprise you and become these amazing, they've always had it in them, but finally, you know, get to a place where you say, oh my gosh, how did they do that all? So I've been humbled by students many, many, many times by their grit and strength and courage. And we have them right here in Spokane at our colleges.
We've got one from SCC Career Services, actually. So first they say, we appreciate your service to CCS and the community at large. And the question is, from your perspective, what is most important when students meet employers?
That's a really great question from our career services. What is most important for students when they meet their employers? You know, I think all employers, and we spend a lot of time, as you do, with employers, they want someone who is going to do their job and to do it well. And so what they want is that they want students have to make a good impression on that employer. So do the homework. What is it that job description said? Look up what the company does and you know, how you would see yourself fitting into that role, whatever it is. Find out, you know, how big is the company? What are opportunities for advancement? And so that the employer gets that first impression, because right now, employers really need the talent. They are opening up their pocketbooks for better salaries, and that's a really good thing. They're opening up, giving students a chance for paid scholarships and tuition if they stay as employees. So I really think for the student is do some homework about that job and then be committed to, even if it's a short time, you want to only be there 1 year, do that, but do the job for them so that they'll have a good impression of you as the students move on to that next job and next career. And there are many opportunities. I have to say to all students, with my generation, the boomers exiting the workforce, and we were a very big generation, I think, as you know, there are lots of jobs and lots of opportunities. So let's get our students ready for those opportunities.
We've got someone who wants to know, what is your answer to people who say college these days is not worth the cost, and especially with all the jobs that are available now?
So that is such a great question that I think we could all answer. The question is about, what do we say to people who say college isn't worth it, it's too expensive? And so what I say is, first of all, what our community colleges do, both SCC and SFCC, they provide value. They prepare students for the future. They prepare them for the workforce. And to the people who are skeptical about education, maybe they're talking about other levels of education, but community college education is both quality, affordable, and it leads to better futures. So it is the best investment a student can make. And I think we can document that and prove it to the skeptics over and over and over. And I would start by saying, just look in our community, all of the wonderful leaders in our community that are community college graduates. I mean, I can give you a long list of our, very talented business people who are very successful, who came through our colleges years ago, and we opened doors for them. So I say community colleges are the answer.
So we're right about time. So we're going to get to 2 more questions, and they're going to be actually a few more. Let's do 1 more. So Dr. Johnson, what is CCS what is CCS doing to connect with businesses and industry in our areas to help attract students and get our graduates great jobs?
So there's a really important question about what is CCS doing to connect to businesses and to make sure that employers know about our students and connecting the students. So we do a lot to connect with businesses. I'll start by saying that you should know that our presidents are out there. Both Dr. Messina and Dr. Brockbank are out there in the community, talking to employers, visiting employers, touring workplaces. And they sit on the chambers, Dr. Brockbank sits on the Valley Chamber as a board member. So he's meeting there with business people in the Valley all the time. Dr. Messina is a member and is involved with the Airway Heights Chamber. And that region of Airway Heights, it's growing. There's a lot of land. So that's one, they're officially connected to and I've been affiliated with Greater Spokane Incorporated, the entire time I've been here. But it's beyond that. It isn't just, we're at a chamber, but it's actually we have advisory council advisory committees for all of the career tech ed programs. And the individuals of those members of those committees, as you know, are from the industries in our region. So we get a lot of direct advice. We meet on a regular basis, the presidents and I, with the key employers, whether it's Providence or Multicare or, again, all the manufacturing companies. So we're out there, and I know that our faculty, particularly our career tech ed faculty and our deans, are out there. They're well known. Our deans are well known. They're well connected. So we have a lot of different contact points. And I will say that many of the employers have told us, invite them in to do maybe, they almost feel like job fairs so that they get exposed to our students. So I think that those are some of the new things we should do is, of course, COVID has made it hard to do all these things, but I think maybe we should do some virtual, a number of businesses. I think at the last conversation I had there was one of those elevated conversations done through the Business Journal. Several of the employers asked if we would host things on our campuses so they get to have a chance to kind of talk about their company to students. So I think those are some of the kind of career fair things that we ought to be planning virtually, because the employers do have that need. So we're doing a lot, and we're open to doing more and doing some things differently with our employers. They value us and they need us, and we need them. We want our students employed and successful in all of the industries in our region.
Okay, so the last questions here, again, we're right at about time. So Dr. Johnson, what's the first book that you will read for fun?
Oh my gosh, I'm actually rereading some books. I have to tell you that one I just ordered because, I was an English major. So I remember all the literature, all the English playwrights and authors. But I'm rereading some of the classics. I don't know how many of you have done that, but I've got one that I ordered recently to reread because I've forgotten so much. It is Pride and Prejudice. There are so many. That's a Jane Austen book, but there are so many good books out there, and I kind of vaguely remember from all those years ago in my program and in my major. And so some of it is rereading some books that I know are really good, and I remember vaguely what they were about. And then there are many others. As I said, I read a lot, and I read a lot of books on various faiths. I just think it's important to understand, how other faiths, kind of the value systems, and also their sacred literatures. So anyway, I'm so looking forward to reading and reading and reading.
Okay, and the last question here. So it's really just open-ended here. So what's a word or phrase that describes the type of legacy you hope to leave the CCS community?
Okay, that's a wonderful, really thoughtful question. And I hope I have a few more months to think about it. But the question is, what word or words do I think I would like to leave as my legacy for the community? So I would say one that comes to mind is caring, and because I truly care about our students, I care about our community, I care about the future of our country. And so I hope caring and compassionate and dedicated, maybe those would be words that I really believe in our work. So thank you for joining us today. I know that Jonathan said that was the last question. Know that we will have other opportunities, and that there will be a meeting scheduled, another town hall meeting scheduled in the spring. Let's hope that's in person. I would love it if it were in person, but will let us know what else you need. Happy to meet in smaller groups. I care a lot about you and our students and our work. So thank you. Have a great day. And it's one that likes a lot of sunshine, and let's hope for a sunny day tomorrow. Thank you so much, CCS.